Hello and welcome to the Terp Family Fundamentals webinar series. My name is Danielle Walker and I'm the program coordinator for the Office of Parent and Family Affairs here at the University of Maryland. For those that are new, this webinar series is intended to help you become informed consultants on campus resources. If you remember our office's presentation during orientation, we like to say that during the normal course of events, there is no problem that can arise at the University of Maryland that a student cannot solve using the many resources available to them here. Hopefully you've registered for this webinar because you're interested in learning more about education abroad and ways to help your Terp through their research and application process. Today we will begin with a welcome from Leanne Dunsmore, Director of Education Abroad. Throughout the webinar, please feel free to submit questions through our chat and Q&A feature, and we'll do our best to respond to those questions before the end of the webinar. With that, I will hand off the presentation. Welcome.
Thank you. We're excited to have you join us today as you begin to consider how study abroad may become an integral part of your students' undergraduate experience. Each year, approximately 2,000 University of Maryland students take advantage of study abroad, enrolled in a broad range of programs that differ by destination, discipline, and duration. We strongly believe that an investment in a study abroad experience is an investment in your students' future and our collective future. Students who study abroad build relationships that extend beyond the borders of our campus. And through these relationships, they develop the knowledge and skills to communicate and collaborate across cultures. Skills that are necessary to help us address solutions to some of the great challenges of our time. I hope you leave today with a sense of how much support is available to your student throughout this process. As a parent of a recent University of Maryland graduate, I can attest to the support my son received from his advisors and his college to work a study abroad experience into his four-year plan. As a finance major, he spent a semester in Australia, and his experiences, like those of so many others, have served him well as he's learned to think critically and creatively while developing a deeper sense of self, of understanding of the connections among nations and their people. So it's never too early for your student to start preparing for this experience. So I'm going to turn this presentation over to my colleagues so you're able to learn a little bit more about how to take advantage of these opportunities. Lauren?
Thanks, Leanne, and good afternoon to all the parents, families, and folks we have joining us today during the lunch hour. My name is Lauren Russick. I work here in Education Abroad and have worked with thousands of Terps who have participated in our programs and come back to tell us about the life-changing experiences. And we're excited to bring you some information about how your Terps can do that and make sure you better understand the resources that are available to you and your students as they navigate the study abroad journey. I'm joined by my colleague, Catherine Schwarzentraub, who is on our chat answering some of your questions as they come in. So feel free to engage with her over on the chat feature. So we like to get started by grounding our conversation in an understanding of what is study abroad. You may have some experience yourself with study abroad or notions about what it is. And at its most basic level, it's about an academic experience, living and learning in another country and culture and earning credit towards a University of Maryland degree. However, it is so much more than just a credit on a transcript. And it is an active global learning experience where our students are getting out of the classroom, engaged with the culture, learning from and about different perspectives. Here on the slide, I just will take a moment to point out some of the actual experiences our students are having. On the right-hand panel of photos, the top left are some of our students studying medicinal plants in Peru with a faculty member from our plant sciences department. On the top right, we have a group of students who are engaging in service learning, working in Dominican Republic, building a school playground for a local school. The bottom left are our students interviewing a formerly imprisoned journalist in Bratislava, Slovakia, a student interning in Parliament while on a semester program in London. And finally, we have a group of first-year students on the bottom right who are learning in a Roman forum as they spend the summer before their freshman semester studying abroad with a University of Maryland faculty member. So as Leanne was mentioning, these are unparalleled global learning experiences, and we want to be able to help unlock these opportunities for your students. We also want to make sure we're understanding why study abroad matters, as it's something that is worth the investment of time and energy to pursue. Students are expanding their worldview, they're learning another language and culture, their networks are expanding, they're having opportunities to reflect on themselves, their own culture. They have come back telling us they've gained a better sense of self-awareness, more confidence, and better communication skills, confidence, and independence. And these are all skills that we hope every single University of Maryland student has and develops as they are here with us. And we believe that study abroad can enhance these in important ways. Another thing that we know study abroad can link up to is employability. There are more and more employers who tell us directly that students with global experience have this critical skills at exceeding rates than their peers when it comes to applying for jobs or looking for entry-level positions. And there's more and more research around this topic, and we are really proud that the results continue to let us know that study abroad helps enhance these critical skills that employers tell us are essential to succeed in a global workforce. So if you weren't sold already, you might have some concerns or questions around the mechanics of studying abroad, and we want to be able to address them today. We won't be able to get into all of the details and nuts and bolts around them, but we wanted to outline right up front that if you're thinking about finances, studying abroad at the University of Maryland can cost the same or less than a semester being here on campus. We have academic programs for students in any undergraduate program, allowing them to graduate in 4 years, earning credit towards their degree. Contrary to many folks' beliefs that study abroad must involve full coursework in a foreign language, we actually have a tremendous range of coursework that is taught in English, allowing students and again, disciplines across campus to take advantage. And we know that especially for parents and families, safety and security come up a lot when we're answering questions. And we want you to know that that's part of our top priorities is the wellness of our students before, during, and after study abroad. And we have a really robust set of resources to support students at all of those stages relative to their health and well-being. So hopefully you're sold. We've got you hooked and making sure that you're going to help support your Terp studying abroad. So you probably want to know, what does it look like? What are the options for your student here at the University of Maryland? And this slide here, where helping your Terp get started, is something we put in front of all students as they're at the beginning of the process. We encourage students and families to plan early, as this allows them to get the most broad range of information around the opportunities that are available to them and possibly integrate study abroad into their 4-year plan. Our program selection really revolves around goal setting, allowing students to identify what are their priorities and needs so that our staff and our advisors can work with students to identify programs and opportunities that best align with their needs. We also work really closely with students around the cost of attendance, helping them understand what is the cost of their education, promoting financial literacy, and helping them make informed estimations of what study abroad will cost relative to their University of Maryland attendance. We also want to put a plug in for passports. If your Terp does not have one or does not have a current one, now is a great time to start thinking about that process so that they can have one thing already out of the way before they consider studying abroad. So the University of Maryland is proud of our very robust program portfolio. We have over 400 program options. And this means that we have programs in over 70 different countries. We run study abroad programs year-round from fall and spring semester, including winter break, spring break, and summer. And we have different modalities of program offerings. And so I've mentioned a couple of the program types here, including exchange, a Maryland-sponsored semester program, a faculty-led, and freshman abroad. We have plenty of resources on our website about what each of these programs entail. But at the end of the day, what's important to know is that there are lots of different options of programming. I know that some of the questions you might have about how students get to class or who are they in classes with, and there's a very wide range of opportunities in different locations and different program types. Since study abroad is at its foremost is an academic experience. We also want to make sure that study abroad fits into the 4-year plan. And we work very closely with academic departments to ensure that study abroad can plug into that 4-year plan. And it may be different time for every student in different majors. As I mentioned, we have program lengths that extend from a full academic semester to an academic year, as well as shorter programs that allow students to fit study abroad into tighter academic plans, or perhaps even more than once. As I mentioned earlier, we really try to promote a financial literacy for students, not only around their cost of study abroad, but also the cost of their education. And I trust that that's something that you as parents and families are very in tune with. So we try to introduce resources right up front for students. When we talk about study abroad, it's not going to be just a program fee or just tuition, but a cost of attendance, of course, entails things like housing, meals, personal expenses, local travel, international flight, and insurance. When we're comparing cost of attendance for students, the nice thing about a semester study abroad option is that it actually swaps out the costs of being on campus for a semester. So you pay the study abroad costs in lieu of your on-campus costs for a term you might be going abroad for an academic semester. Our short-term programs, all of them have their own set of program fees. So similar to a tuition cost for a summer or winter cost, our study abroad programs have program fees associated with that experience. The great news is that here at the University of Maryland, we try to make it seamlessly easy to apply your financial aid and existing scholarships you might have for attending university here. We work extremely closely with our financial aid office, so much so that all financial aid that students get for coming to the University of Maryland can be applied to University of Maryland sponsored study abroad programs, and we do the paperwork and make sure that that's all in line, so it's a seamless transfer. Students can also use scholarships they get to come here at Maryland and apply them to study abroad. And on top of that, Education Abroad has a growing scholarship pool that we award out of to support students going on study abroad experiences. And we work with our National Scholarships Office to help students apply for competitive national scholarships, such as the Benjamin A. Gilman Scholarship, which is specifically for students who receive Pell Grants, as well as other scholarships like the Fund for Education Abroad. I noticed there were a couple questions that came in about the Maryland 529 plan, and that is also an option for students to use towards the costs of their study abroad. Our financial aid counselor and education abroad advisors are equipped to answer specific questions about these items so that students can look at their financial profile and the costs of study abroad and look at what the difference is in cost of attendance, as sometimes it may cost less to study abroad than it would to be here on campus. As supporters of your Terps thinking about study abroad, we want to encourage you to ask some questions and help put them in the driver's seat to make informed decisions about what type of experience, when, and how study abroad can work for them. Again, going back to the concept of goals and expectations, we believe with our very robust portfolio, we have something for everybody, but it might be important for a student to prioritize what is most important to them so that they can maximize their opportunity. We know students are very influenced by their peers and want to know what's most popular or what somebody else did. But at the end of the day, we know that students get the most out of study abroad if they are maximizing their personal preferences and aligning those with their goals. We also hear that from faculty, from employers, that students who are making decisions based on their personal goals and objectives and learning, using these opportunities as stepping stones in their learning and development, often come back from these experiences with a richer ability to articulate what this meant to them in their learning and professional development journey. An academic advisor is also an integral resource in this process, and we want to encourage students to speak with their academic advisor as early as possible to make sure that study abroad can fit into their 4-year plan. And then I can't reiterate enough other resources across campus that really triangulate this notion of a community of support so that students have what they need to navigate the study abroad process with confidence and success. And this includes the range of staff members here in Education Abroad, including our general advisor, our peer mentors, and our regional advisors, our colleagues in financial aid, National Scholarships Office, as well as students' peers. They're students like them. We have a number of resources on our website that help students navigate the process and you navigate the resources around studying abroad. A great place to start is on our advising tab on our website. We have a getting started place, which is a great landing for students, parents, and families to understand what are the scope of opportunities and how to get involved. And then also our Money Matters and Health and Safety tabs are great resources, especially for parents and families who have some general questions about what are the resources that we provide to students, how do they navigate issues around scholarships or health and safety matters. We also really try to draw out the perspectives of students who have gone abroad and try to ask students to get themselves reflecting on what are their needs. Just quickly point out our identity and affiliation resource that we've developed to help students ask themselves reflective questions about how their social identities might influence their choices around study abroad, as well as their needs, so that they can communicate and convey those to program advisors and on-site staff. And our Terps abroad are very vocal about what their experiences mean to them and advice they have for other students. My favorite resource on our website is our Terps Abroad tab, which obviously blends into our social media campaigns with the hashtag Terps Abroad. And you and your students can hear from students who have actually participated in study abroad, advice and perspectives around what that was like for them, and advice they have for students like them. You can filter by academic college and as well as by social identity. So we've given a range of resources around what is possible here at the University of Maryland, and we want to empower you and students to take a next step and interact with us further. As I mentioned, the Getting Started page on our website is really geared towards delivering on some of those resources and drawing out what is the process and next steps. We have our Study Abroad Fair, which is really the signature event each semester that displays the range of programs and allows students to connect with program representatives around what the offerings are and what an experience might be like should they choose to pursue that. Our biggest event next semester, the fair, will be held on February 5th. I know that's probably light years away for students who are planning one day to the next, but wanted to put a plug in for your students and you, if you like, and are local, to join us for that event. And then a great resource is our Study Abroad 101, which is both an in-person and online session around how to utilize our program search resources, how to draw out some of your goals and priorities for picking a study abroad program. So at this point, I am going to see if there are some questions that we can pull from the chat that might be helpful to answer for the whole group.
Yes, so one of the questions that came through, do you have a good strategy for encouraging shy students to take advantage of this opportunity?
Yes, so I think what we try to do here in Education Abroad is make as many touch points as possible for all the different ways students want or are ready to engage with us. In terms of students who might be more comfortable navigating resources from the comfort of their own dorm room, we want them to fully engage with our web resources. Our online Study Abroad 101 is an 8-minute video that gives some initial introduction. And then we have the Study Abroad Fair, which is kind of a low-risk opportunity to come and learn more about study abroad. As far as maybe a shy student who may be intimidated by the prospect of being abroad in a new place with new people, we find that students find actually a very strong sense of community on our study abroad programs, especially the ones that are administered by the University of Maryland. Our short-term programs, for example, are being developed and directed by University of Maryland faculty members from departments across campus. And they are really terrific at bringing together a community of students, perhaps from different departments, disciplines, and backgrounds to generate a learning community where there's a safe space to engage, build relationships, and learn in a new and what could be very intimidating environment. Similarly, some of our Maryland In semester programs really engage cohorts of University of Maryland students from sizes as small as around 10 students to as large as 130. So it's nice to always know that there's Terps that are out there and sometimes living alongside you and going to the same classes. So we try to make sure students feel that sense of community and give them opportunities to connect. So if they are feeling more shy or intimidated, there are resources embedded.
Okay. Another question was, as far as timeline, for students who want to study abroad, when would be a good time for them to start the process?
So as I mentioned earlier, the earlier they can start, the better. The next time they meet with an academic advisor is really the next opportunity they might have to explore where in their study abroad, where in their 4-year plan they might be able to fit study abroad. A general rule of thumb that we try to offer is really 9 to 12 months is a great time to be thinking about. 9 to 12 months ahead of when you might want to study abroad is a good time to start making some decisions about what type of program you might want, have met with perhaps our general advisor or peer mentor here in Education Abroad. We have 2 application cycles each year, one for winter, spring, and spring break study abroad opportunities, and a second application cycle that covers summer, fall, and full year opportunities. We actually just wrapped up the application cycle for our winter, spring, and spring break with deadlines in October. So students who had started applications for a winter, spring, and spring break could have started those anywhere between May and October. And for students who are thinking about a summer, fall, and full year, they have between December and March to apply.
Another question is, are there medical insurance options for students studying abroad?
Great question. 100% of our students who participate through our office on study abroad programs will be covered by an international insurance policy that is quite comprehensive, might be better than my insurance I get here for the US. It covers them for any pre-existing condition that they might have prior to going abroad and treatment they might need while abroad, as well as any incidents health related that would come up while abroad. The couple things it doesn't cover are high risk activities like bungee jumping and skydiving. So we make sure students know about that. But as far as a comprehensive health policy, 100% of University of Maryland students who study abroad with our office will be covered.
Another question that came in is just about student safety abroad, especially in areas where there may be protests and things. What kind of education do you provide the students studying abroad in such areas where this may be something that they experience?
Great question. We've been getting lots of notices around the different protests happening around the world in the last few weeks. So that's something that's very present on our mind. The way we address safety is a multi-pronged approach. So in terms of student preparation, we have resources that students are required to engage with prior to departure, including readings and an understanding of how our risk protocols work here at Maryland, using their health insurance, of course, but also should there be an emergency, what constitutes that and how to deal with it. We actually also do training for all of our faculty who are leading programs. So they have training from our risk management team ahead of the program. So they're equipped to support students on site. And then all of our programs have on-site orientations that contextualize some of the health and safety risks that are known to us. So students are prepared to manage that as they're navigating their time abroad. relative to incidents that come up that we might not anticipate, so such as some of these protests that we're experiencing. We have a couple of resources. We have a system called Alert Traveler, which actually tracks where students are and what safety or health risks there might be, and just sends out alerts and notifications to students with recommendations and guidance, as well as our on-site staff who are interacting with our students on regular bases are making sure that students have the resources and support they need in navigating some of the challenges that they might face related to health and safety. We also have a 24/7 emergency line, so lines of communication out to students and students out to us should there be a need at any time of the day. Our Director of International Risk Management is connected with our local police here, who can also tap into local authority networks on site. So it's a multi-tiered approach to student safety, but it's of course extremely important to our ability to do the work that we do and support students. And I invite folks to look at the health and safety page on our website to learn more about that. And we're also always happy to answer more specific questions about specific program, location, or other regional inquiries there might be around health and safety.
Thank you. Another question we have, or a few questions that we have coming in, is regarding housing while students are abroad. Is there a match-up process? And then are there resident advisors that are there with them, or how is the housing like abroad for students?
The housing arrangements will depend on the program. There are many different types. Most commonly, we have the few arrangements which include a homestay, where a student is being placed with a vetted local family who are connected to the on-site program. So they're usually living in an apartment fairly close to where they might be studying, accessible either by walking or public transportation. We have program apartments, so apartments that are arranged by the program for students, where they'd be living with other students. And sometimes there are university-sponsored housings, somewhat similar to a dorm scenario, but not quite the same as a dorm that you might experience here on the University of Maryland campus. Many of our programs are actually in more urban areas, and so students are better integrated with the housing that locals are using, typically apartments. Some of these options involve living with other University of Maryland students if they're on a University of Maryland program, and almost always will involve living with other study abroad students or other international students, which is, our students tell us, is a great opportunity to expand their network. They're often making friends across countries and continents that they maintain those friendships far after they return from study abroad.
Another question that has come in is, do the students have an opportunity to speak with their academic advisors to ensure that classes taken abroad will count for their major, or will they be accepted for credit? Or can they verify that certain courses they take abroad will be accepted for credit here at University of Maryland?
Absolutely. That is a conversation that all students will have with their academic advisors, especially those who are going on semester or year programs. In fact, we're building a database that will soon be launched on our website that lists all of the courses that have already been reviewed and approved. Many courses that our students are taking have already been approved and have articulated UMD equivalents, where an academic advisor comes in, is helping students look at those opportunities and seeing where they meet their degree requirements and how to sequence those so that they're staying on track for graduation. So to answer the question, yes, academic advisors can help students navigate the course options and help facilitate a course review, and that's also something our office can do as well.
Another question that came in is in regards to tuition. So for students, if a student is an out-of-state student, do they still pay out-of-state tuition, or will they be considered in-state tuition for studying abroad? How does how does the tuition work?
So for the vast majority of our program types, there are designated program fees that are independent of residency status. So program fees that are published apply to both in-state and out-of-state students, and the program costs vary by program and location based on what the program includes and the program setup. I will take a moment to highlight our University of Maryland exchange programs, which are actually a different model in that an exchange means that we're sending students to a foreign university and a student from that institution comes here to the University of Maryland. And one of the neat arrangements in this setup is that your University of Maryland student will maintain paying their regular in-state or out-of-state tuition for that semester. So it really is one of the great ways that students are maintaining a cost of attendance on par with what it costs to be a student here at Maryland while getting to do coursework at one of our world-renowned high-quality institutions through our exchange network.
Okay, and we have a lot more questions that we're not going to be able to get to today live, but Catherine will still be here to answer those questions that were sent through the Q&A feature as well as the chat. But the last question that we'll use as wrap up is what year of student gets the most value or most experience from studying abroad?
I would say students going abroad at any point in their academic career are benefiting in the ways that we showed earlier. It's really about where a student is in their learning journey as well as what their goals are. We have students who study abroad from the summer before they get to Maryland as freshmen up and through their final semester as a senior, so they can make sure to get that in. Students are at different stages in their own learning journeys and development as they navigate their time here with us at the University of Maryland. And there's no one time that's best for any University of Maryland student generically. It's really about their individual path. We believe that students are getting a lot out of their study abroad journey, exploring different cultures and their discipline from different lenses. And so there's really no one perfect time for that. And we're here to support students and making that happen for them when they're ready and in the way that they need it.
Great. So like I said, we're wrapping up the webinar now. Catherine will still be on the Q&A and chat feature to answer the questions that have been sent in. I want to thank you for taking the time to be with us this afternoon. As we bring this webinar to a close, I'd like to remind everyone that a recording of this webinar will be available on the Terp Family YouTube page. You can also access the recording through our website, terpfamily.umd.edu, if you'd like to rewatch this with another family member. You will receive an email this afternoon asking for your feedback. Please let us know how we did and how we can improve for future webinars. We welcome your thoughts. A quick blurb about next week. We do have another webinar coming up that'll be Advising 101. That'll be with the Office of Letters and Sciences. So please join us for that. The registration link is on our website. And I'll also be on the Parent and Family Affairs website, excuse me. And we'll also be sharing that via our social media. So definitely tune in for that if you want more information about the advising process and what your student will experience through academic advising. That wraps us up for today. Contact information here on this last slide. If for some reason your questions were sent in and we haven't been able to answer them, please reach out to Education Abroad. Their phone number and email address is listed there. If you have any other feedback or questions just in general about the university, that's where my office comes in, Parent and Family Affairs. So our phone number and email is listed there as well. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and thank you so much for joining us.